And now joining us is Republican Congressman Bob Onder of Missouri, who serves on the House Committee on Education and Workforce. Congressman Bob Onder, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be with you.
It's great to have you, Congressman. You were on the Hill today. Let's start by talking about the hearing that you were at, Beyond the Ivy League, Stopping the Spread of Anti-Semitism on College Campuses. You had some interesting exchanges there with some of the university presidents. Talk to us about what stood out to you most in your line of questioning.
Yeah, I asked some questions of the president of Haverford College. She, throughout the hearing, had been very evasive when asked about whether this or that statement or chant or action by students on her college campus was anti-Semitic. And she cited, though we include everybody and harassment's not tolerated, but she would never admit that some of these horrible statements were truly anti-Semitic. And further, she wouldn't say whether there were any consequences for these anti-Semitic and intimidating actions against Jewish students at Haverford College. And I found it very disturbing, an institution that takes so much public money, so much taxpayer money, that she wouldn't answer the most basic questions.
I don't know who Haverford, this university's biggest donors are, but it does come to mind that I believe Harvard, one of their biggest donors, is the nation of Qatar.
Yeah.
And what do you think is behind this and the lack of, I guess, consciousness of what's actually taking place on these universities?
Yeah, well, I think it's no secret that so much of university faculty throughout the United States, from Ivy League on down to public universities, is taken over by the far left. And on the far left, there's this narrative that somehow the state of Israel and Jews are the bad guys, and somehow the terrorists who slaughtered innocent Israelis and Americans on October 7th, 2023, that somehow those are the good guys. I don't know where that came from. I think it's this sort of Marxist dialectic of oppressor oppressed. So America's the great Satan and Israel's the little Satan, and therefore the Palestinian terrorists are the good guys. But somehow, yes, I don't know how that narrative took over on our college campuses, but it seems to be the case.
Interesting. Just switching gears slightly, speaking of higher education, the federal government has now resumed collecting student loans that are in default. This is something that it was pandemic era. What should we be doing long term to address the issue of Americans unable to pay off those loans?
Yeah, so we worked on this issue in the Education and Workforce Committee last week in our markup of the reconciliation bill, the Donald Trump big beautiful bill we keep talking about. There are a number of things we should do. We've got to end the blank check to the universities, because what's been happening is the universities, for every dollar of additional student loan or education aid, the universities have been raising their tuition somewhere between 60 cents and $1. So they've been capturing all that extra aid. And students and their parents are saddled with this debt or the high tuition. So we've got to stop the blank check. So first of all, having caps on total amounts of student loans, and then if the universities want to, they can make up the difference in aid. But then also making universities responsible, having some skin in the game, because too many universities are selling a product that makes students actually not just no better off, but even less well off than if they had never gone to college at all. So yes, students who cannot afford to pay right now, there will be need-based payment plans, but those payment plans will reflect their real ability to pay and not be de facto forgiveness of student loans, because it's not fair to force people who work as waitresses in restaurants or who work in blue-collar jobs who haven't been to college to subsidize some of the most affluent people in our country, those who have been to college.
Now, speaking of that big, beautiful bill, you recently posted a letter to Speaker Mike Johnson regarding that bill, calling for more incentives to reshore American manufacturing. How important is this for Americans right now, and how, I guess, plausible do you see it?
Yeah, I think it is. Look, in an ideal world, we would have free and fair trade with all the nations of the world, but we know that too many nations have taken advantage of the United States, having much greater barriers to our exports than we have to imports from their countries. So I think President Trump is very aggressively, very ambitiously undertaking to renegotiate some of these trade deals with all the countries of the world. At the end of the day, I think we are going to have freer trade, lower tariffs, and most importantly, opportunities for American exports that will rebuild our manufacturing base.
Congressman Bob Onder, really appreciate you joining.
Thank you very much.